Our Ikea Mead's a year old. Let's taste the Lingonberry Mead. We gotta get it from there into here. For that, we need the pour can. So, a couple of facts about this Lingonberry Mead. There's some sediment in the bottom of the bottle. I'm being very, very careful to not disturb that. It is 11.3% ABV, and it has a 1.010 final gravity, so it's semi-sweet.
And spoilers, it pairs nicely with a multitude of foods, as I may or may not have been pairing it all this week.
I did not know that. That's not fair, you cheated. On the clarity, I'm going with this is like perfect.
2,000.
It's a 10 for clarity.
Gorgeous.
If you hear someone in the next room, that is Inigo. He found a toy and he just woke up. We're getting close to the end of the workday and he wants to play.
He wants to play.
On the aroma, it's rich. It's heady.
It smells.
It's fruity. It smells very sweet.
It's like, at first it smells like a wine, and then you're like, oh wait,
strawberries.
No, it's beyond the wine. It's got more going on.
Kind of smells like strawberries and honey. A little bit. Like a strawberry cranberry with honey.
I bet you it smells like a lingonberry and honey.
I'm trying to describe what a lingonberry smells like. Maybe they don't know.
I grew up on Lingonberry Clearly Canadian. Who else was Clearly Canadian fans? Raise your hand. I see you.
I've never even heard of it.
I see you. Oh, it was so good. That was my favorite one, was the Lingonberry.
Okay. Anyway, on the aroma, it smells wonderful. I don't get any off flavors, off scents, everything about it. Very rich, very full. I'm going in for a taste.
Everything about it so far is just perfect.
Okay. It's a little watery. I would like a little bit more richness to the mouthfeel. That could have been done with a little more tannin or a little more sweetness. Pardon me one moment.
You got your mouse?
Come here, buddy. Yeah, it's a little watery.
It tastes more like a wine. On the palate,
it tastes like a wine.
It's more like a wine. And that's why I've been pairing it with food. My dad and I, my dad's visiting, hey, Terry, and we've been pairing it with many of the lovely concoctions that Brian has been making for us this past couple of weeks.
I'm not getting a lot of honey character.
No.
That's unusual. That's odd. I know we used a concentrate and honey, the lingonberry concentrate and the honey. Might not have used enough honey.
Those are 1.010. Yeah, we might have needed to bump it up.
Had we back sweetened this with a little bit more honey, I think it would actually have come out a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
That said, it reads more like a dry wine than a sweeter or even a semi-sweet mead.
Right. So if you appreciate dry wines, particularly if you appreciate dry wines pairing with food, like I do, then this, just as it is probably perfect for you. If you like things, particularly meads, to have a little bit more of that honey character, which in general we both appreciate in the mead category, then you may want to push the honey and the back sweetening for this.
Right. Or use a little bit less concentrate and a little bit more honey when you're making the recipe. Either way is fine.
Sure.
I have to say I'm a little disappointed in it.
Flavor-wise, on its own, I'm not enjoying it as much as I have been these past couple of weeks pairing with food. Pairing with food, I've enjoyed it immensely. And actually, in the different dishes that I've paired it with, I'm trying to think what I've been pairing it with, because you've like run the spectrum this past couple of weeks of food. I'm trying to remember. I think I paired this with the Parmesan.
Oh, okay.
And I think the acidity of the food, if you pair it with something acidic like a tomato sauce, then it starts to read more sweet on the palate.
Okay.
And that was really nice, and that combination.
I have a lot of...
He's torn.
Yeah.
Can you see? You see the tearing appear.
I think as like a white wine, I don't really have a problem with it.
Yeah.
But it's not meant to be a white wine. By the way, something I want to bring up. It's been brought to our attention a few times that on the one-year tastings, it's common for things to be lower than they were in the initial tasting. And that is not a weird thing or unusual thing. What you have to remember is tastes change over time, and what you had to eat that day could affect how you feel about it. We could taste this tomorrow and feel totally different about it.
I also think, and I've been thinking about this myself on a different aspect, and that's psychologically. When we have created something and it's still fresh in our minds and we're tasting it,
excited.
We can't help but have that enthusiasm of this is my creation. And
whereas a year later, you're like, I'm over it.
Yeah, whatever. What have you done for me lately? I don't know. You were good with spaghetti, but now...
But I think a lot of it really comes down to this. As brewers, just like everyone else out there, we are constantly learning. So as we learn more, what we knew before seems less. Therefore, what we thought was great a year ago might not be so great today, which means our standards are changing. Our standards are going up. Not so much that the scores are going down, it's that the standard is going up. So it becomes harder and harder to achieve that 10. You'll notice there's a lot less 10s and 11s in the past year than in previous times.
Right. Also, I believe I just may have triggered something. When I'm pairing this with food, I'm not drinking it at room temperature. I have it in the mini fridge prior to pouring it. And I think chilled, it actually changes the flavor profile significantly, enhancing the fruity sweetness of the lingonberry and diminishing the almost acidic notes of the fermentation process itself.
That's totally possible.
Because this was just like 2 days ago that I paired this with the spaghetti, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was coming off sweet. So, because I was alternating between this and our strawberry wine, and our strawberry wine is naturally sweet.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's another thing I wanted to talk about too, is the cold versus warm versus room temperature. We test everything at room temperature. We used to do the cold and the warm. It got to be so convoluted and difficult in the tastings that we stopped doing it, and instead just do everything under the same circumstances. That way we have a stable relative thing to work from. But again, tastes change, and some things are better cold than they are warm. Like ciders and beers are always going to be cold, not warm. We always serve them cold. Though in some countries they actually prefer them warm, just saying. So it's just the way we do it.
Yeah.
I guess white wines could be cold, right?
I think anything could be any temperature based on your personal preference.
Drink it how you like it.
The only reason why I have that comparison is because I have recently drank it that way.
Well, once it's open, we
memory.
keep them chilled.
Right.
So that's why they were coming out cold. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
And it is entirely possible. It turns down some of the tartness and makes the sweeter flavors come through. That could totally happen.
Yes, and that's something that just occurs with changing the temperature, is that some of the notes, as we like to refer to in the tasting profile, get amplified or diminished. So that is what happens with chilling this particular beverage.
Something to keep in mind too is just because we critique something doesn't mean we don't like it. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just that's what we're doing to tell you guys what we think of it and how we interpret those flavors and how we can convey them in words to you. I'm harsh on this one, but it's mostly because I'm confused by it. It doesn't come across as a mead. If someone told me, what do you think this is? I would say it's a white wine. I would never think it was a mead. I would even think it was a grape white wine.
Yeah, it has a significant amount of astringency on the palate, which is what's making it seem more like a wine and less like a mead. Yep.
It doesn't have a lot of honey character at all. And the fruitiness is kind of coming through much like it could be even a grape. I mean, it's just unusual. It's confusing. And I'm trying to convey that to you. Not to say it's bad. I don't hate it. It's not necessarily the first thing I would reach for, but I don't hate it.
Sure.
Like, I don't hate it so much that I'm pouring us more.
I want to save some because I know it pairs really great with food. I can't smuggle into the restaurant tonight, but who knows what we're eating tomorrow. Nice look.
It's because I don't know what we're eating tomorrow. Come up with my menus on the fly.
He does.
I mean, it smells really nice. I think the smell on it
The smell
is actually superior to the taste.
and the visual appeal are lovely. And my recollection of pairing with food while chilled is equally as lovely. But right now it's neither being paired with food nor chilled. So I can agree with Brian that it's not living up to the visual and aroma.
Yeah. Okay. Our scale goes 1 through 10 with the occasional spot held for 11s that are just absolutely amazing. 1 basically means it's crap. I'm not going to drink it. I'm going to dump that out. I'm not going to keep that. 10 means I would say, what do I want to drink? That one, do we have any of that left? That's a 10. That's the one that is in my mind. I want to drink it. A 5 is more like, I'm not sure what I want to drink. And you go through all the bottles and you go, yeah, I'll have that one. That's a 5. You didn't think of it, but you're like, hey, yeah, I'll drink that. Everything else is varying levels of awesome to ick.
Was it awesome to awful?
Yeah. I like ick though.
Yeah.
Awesome to awful, but yeah, I don't know. It changes all the time.
All right. So, you have a number.
I'm working on it.
All right.
All right, I have a number.
Okay.
1, 2, 3,
7.
4.
Ooh, harsh.
Yep.
All right. So you get to go first because you're low man.
Okay. Given the opportunity, I would pass on this.
And I'm all right with that because I'm just going to put it in the mini fridge and pair it with dinner.
Yep. The reasons I would pass on it, the flavor is not something I like. I just am not impressed with the flavor. I don't even think sweetening this would make it something that I like. So some of you may discount my score right off the bat, knock it out, because if you like dry white wines and things like that, yeah, I don't. So that discounts it right away. I like dry red wines. I don't like dry white wines. There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
This comes across as a dry white wine to me, which means it's watery, it's light, it doesn't have a lot of body, it doesn't have a lot of flavor. It's very astringent, it's kind of tart. It doesn't offer the flavors that I really want, and it definitely doesn't have any honey character whatsoever. I was being generous by giving it a 4.
Now, I can appreciate that because if I didn't have the memories of all the food pairings I've been using this with, where I can remember that I was drinking Lingonberry Mead, but I can't remember exactly what dish I was pairing it with, that should tell you something. So that may have elevated my scoring to 7 if I was judging it as it is, as at room temperature and without any food pairing. I may have gone lower. I don't think I would have gone all the way to a 4, but I appreciate dry white wines
way more than I do.
Than Brian does.
Yeah.
So there's that.
I like things that are full-bodied and rich and viscous, and this just, it's not hitting any of those notes for me. And then to take the honey character away means now it's not even tasting like mead to me.
Sure.
So it's just, and everybody, you know, every person's going to have their own interpretation. And I'm not discounting her 7 any more than she's discounting my 4.
Absolutely.
If I gave it a 1, she might be like, what? Because no, this isn't something to dump out, obviously. But I go by my own scale. 5 is going down the line. If I saw this, I'd keep going. I would not choose this myself. Now, if we sat down to dinner and she had a glass poured for me already, I wouldn't push it away. I'd drink it. That's the difference. A 1 or a 2, I'd be like, nah, you can have it. Or I would not even touch it. So that's the main difference there. This is drinkable, but not really my thing, not my preference, not something I would choose.
All right, so there you go. Hopefully this has helped you understand our personal feelings on the Lingonberry Mead after 1 year. Also, hopefully this has cleared up some of the way that we judge things, so that way you will be able to take that information and transfer it to your own personal tastes.
I'm also thinking of how I can improve it if I can get more of that Lingonberry concentrate. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.
Bye-bye.